Greetings, it's Ian from RTO here. Welcome to a still dark and dingy Northampton. I did a little promo for the live stream tonight and it was dark and I've hung on and it's got no better. So I've got my light on now. If I switch off the light, you'll see how dark it is at 9 o'clock in the morning still. There we go, it is that dark. And let's put the light back on. There we go. Anyway, we have got a battle royale today. Of course, well, I think this is tie number 10. We're nearly done with the first round, and today we have got FatherStack going up against Richard McCook. FatherStack has chosen Judas Priest's album Defenders of the Faith, and Richard's gone for one of his favourite albums of all time, David Bowie's Diamond Dogs. So out the hat first on this one came Judas Priest. Don't have to say too much about Judas Priest, one of the best metal bands in the land. They've got a new album coming out next year. Looking forward to it, and what I've heard so far I like. So the album that FatherStack has chosen is actually their 9th album that was released on the 4th of January 1984. I remember this coming out. It's a long time ago, and it's Defenders of the Faith. And the band at the time were, of course, Rob Halford on the vocals, KK down in guitars, Glenn Tipton guitars, Ian Hill on the bass, and Northampton's very own Dave Holland on the drums. So track 1 on Defenders of the Faith is the Fast and Furious Freewheel Burning. What an opening track to an album. It's good old fashioned British heavy metal. Rob doing the business, screeching away. He can still screech even in his 70s. This is the metal god. What an opening track to any metal album. And this is 1984, of course, where production is sort of changed. Then we get Jawbreaker. Well, we won't talk about what this song's about because it's quite rude. But it's a great track. Ian Hill's bass line on this is just awesome. The lovely guitar work between Glenn and KK as ever. Just an absolutely solid track. Up next is Rock Hard Ride Free. Great track. Great guitar solos on this. I think you get Glenn doing one. Both of them have a go at this. The drumming from Dave Holland on this is really good. I would say this is the last album that Dave Holland, the drumming wasn't too bad, because the last 2 albums he did, the drumming got more smoother, but this is really hard hitting Dave Holland drumming. Okay, he's got a bit of a history, but this is a great drummer. He was the drummer, of course, for Reprise before he joined Priest. He's a good drummer. Up next, the Sentinel, as Rob would say. Absolutely great track. The screechy vocals of Mr. Halford, and again some pretty decent drumming from Dave, and the guitar work on this is exceptional. Pretty good. Okay, up next comes Love Bites, that little different track. The 80s production had started to slip in, but what makes this song is that guitar bit in the middle, when you've got KK and Glenn sort of playing off each other. The bass line from Ian on this has always been good. It's an okay song. Okay, then we got Eat Me Alive, another thumping track. Ian Hill on the bass doing the business, keeping it all together. Great licks and riffs from Glenn and KK. Just typical Priest of the time, really. Just good, hard, heavy hitting. Then we get Some Heads Are Gonna Roll. Bit of a single, got some interesting riffs on it. It's okay, I don't mind it. Good vocal from Rob on that as ever. Then we get Night Comes Down. Good track. One of the sort of deep cut tracks on this album. Great guitar playing again. It's just full of energy. Then we get Heavy Duty. Okay, this one is a bit cheesy in places, but the guitar work is good. It's a proper sort of heavy metal song, isn't it? Then we get the title track, Defenders of the Faith. Personally, I think this is probably the weakest track on the album. But I've never skipped it, or when I put this album on, I always played all the way through because it's Priest. Okay, this album, a good solid album. There's not too much of the smooth production on it. The one before it, Point of Entry, was really a strange one. I recorded that in Ibiza and it was a bit, but hey, I was more interested in having fun than making a record. But this was a strong comeback for them. Pretty decent album, and it's got some great tracks on it, and it always sits highly on Judas Priest's fans list, and it's always in a lot of people's top 10, this album. So there we go. Good luck with that one, FatherStack. It's a good album. One of the better metal albums of the 80s, I would say. But you're up against Richard McCook and Diamond Dogs from the legendary David Bowie. Now, this album came out on the 24th of May 1974, and joining David on here, who plays saxophones, guitars, Moog synthesizer and the Mellotron, we have got Mike Garson on the keyboards, the legendary Herbie Flowers on bass, Mr. Tony Newman and Ansley Dunbar doing the drums, and Alan Parker doing guitars as well, along with David. So, opens up with the 58-second Future Legend. Interesting intro. This is, it's weird and atmospheric, and it's got one of David's great little voices, but I'm sure it's just there because it goes straight into one of the classics, Diamond Dogs. Driving riffs on this, a great vocal from David. Once again, we've got some great Herbie bass line on this. You just know it's good. Up next is another great song. Fantastic sound on this, great vocal delivery, and it's the Sweet Thing. Really good vocals again from David. The playing on this is terrific. Really, the sound has developed right up to this album. This is sort of that peak time of for David. Then we get Candidate. This is a short little track, but the guitar work from David, everyone forgets how good David was actually on the guitar. Very, very good track. Then we get a bit more a Sweet Thing with a little bit of saxophone, played of course by Mr. Bowie himself. Multi-talented musician. Then we get the classic Rebel Rebel. It's one of the classic David Bowie songs. There's not much you can say about that. Everybody knows this. It's a great song. Then we flip it over to side 2. Then we get Rock and Roll With Me, which is as one of them sort of epic, short epic tracks. Lots of good guitar sounds on this. An incredible vocal again from David. Just absolutely killer track for me. Then we get We Are Dead. Brilliant track. What can you say about this song? That it's just David Bowie at his best. Strong riffs in this. Great vocal. Then we get 1984. Now this features Alan Parker on guitar as well, and the combination of Bowie and Parker work well. Love the vocal. The vocal on this from David is pretty good. Big Brother, another track where David plays a bit of saxophone. It's a really interesting track. It's really different from the rest of the album, I think, but it's quite a interesting track. Then we have one of David's weird and wonderfuls called Chant of the Ever Circling Skeletal Family. Yeah. Oh, it's a bit strange, isn't it? But this is David. He did come up with some weird and wonderful stuff. It's only 2 minutes long, but it's just finishes off the album. What about this album? It's one of the greats, isn't it? A lot of people think this is probably David's best album ever. I know Richard does, and I think Mastermind Dave loves this album. I love it. It's not my personal favourite, as you know, but it's still an album I enjoy, and I put it on. When I put it on, it's a really good rocking album. So there we are. 2 strong albums from 2 sort of genres. 10 years. Actually, 10 years between recording. This is 74, Diamond Dogs, and 10 years later, Dead Vendors of the Faith came out. 2 very good, strong albums. So how do you vote? Well, there's only 2 ways you can vote for this. Firstly, you wait till 2 p.m. when the big vote goes upon the community. And the other place you can vote is if you join the live stream tonight. Now, over the last few weeks, the live stream has been the one that's been the pivotal on the whole vote. So it's an important vote. So all I can say is good luck to both wonderful entries. What have we got for you next week? Well, we've got another Status Quo album from make sure I'm telling you the right one. Just don't want to look at silly doodah. Yeah. Next week is Dark Lord, Status Quo, and Never Too Late, and that's going up against Mick and Who's Next. So that'll be an interesting one. So that's all for this one. So don't forget, voting opens at 2 p.m. and closes at midnight next Wednesday, when Mastermind Dave just takes it down so no one else can vote. And he actually does it at midnight. He's a bit of a night owl, is Dave. So he sits up and does this, takes it down, and then I have a look at the results in the morning. So that's all for this one. We've got Pick and Mix coming up next, and we're going to have a look at DVD. It came out as an album as well. We've already talked about it as the album, but we're going to look at the DV from Kansas of Device, Voice and Drum, which is pretty cool. So join me for that later. I wonder if it'll get any lighter. Probably not. So bye for now, and good luck to Richard and FatherStack.